We've all been told to be happy, to stay positive, to smile through the ache, to turn every shadow into a lesson. Somewhere along the way, happiness stopped being a feeling and became a performance, the measure of a good life, the proof of a healthy mind, even the sign of a spiritual person. Our lives are judged, silently but relentlessly, by how happy or not we appear to be. The modern world treats joy like a status symbol, a personal brand to maintain, a public declaration that we are doing life right. And so we curate our smiles, filter our sadness, and edit away the evidence of our humanity. We've turned the full spectrum of emotion into a hierarchy, with happiness at the top and everything else below it, unwanted, inconvenient, and unworthy of being seen. And yet, that very pressure to be always happy is the trap. The more we chase the light, the more elusive it becomes, because happiness was never meant to be a performance or a measure of success. Constant happiness doesn't exist. It never has. Yet we've built our lives pretending it does, measuring our worth by the absence of pain, our progress by how quickly we can escape it. Something in us knows this can't be right. Even when we smile convincingly, something beneath us trembles. Even when we tell ourselves we're fine, a quiet ache reminds us that we're not meant to be perfect. We're meant to be whole. Join us in a reflection, not on how to stay happy all the time, but on what joy truly is. On what remains when the performance fades, when we stop chasing light and start seeing clearly. Perhaps real joy isn't something we achieve, but something that quietly arises when we stop pretending to be more than or less than what we are. True joy is often mistaken for constant happiness, a perpetual high that can be measured and maintained. We chase it as though it were a prize to be won, but real joy is not a state we force or a trophy to display. It emerges quietly, like sunlight breaking through clouds after a storm, often in the moments we least expect it. Unlike fleeting happiness, which depends on circumstances and can vanish in an instant, spiritual joy is rooted in a deeper awareness, a recognition of life as it is, rather than how we wish it would be. It is the calm beneath the waves, the still point within motion, the gentle presence that remains even when all else shifts. The modern obsession with how to stay happy all the time has distorted our understanding of joy. We have been taught that every negative emotion is a failure, a deviation from the ideal self, a sign that something is broken within us. But this belief is precisely what keeps joy superficial. When we suppress or ignore sorrow, anger, or doubt, we also block the fullness of our own capacity to feel, to empathize, to awaken. True joy does not avoid difficulty. It moves through it, absorbs it, and allows it to illuminate the depths of our being. It does not demand that life conform to our desires. It allows life to be what it is while we remain grounded in presence. Across spiritual traditions, the recognition of joy as emergent rather than forced is universal. In contemplative practices, joy is not the goal but the companion of awareness, arriving when the mind ceases its endless striving. It is found in the breath that continues regardless of circumstance, in the quiet observation of what is, and in the release of the illusion that we must constantly control our inner state. By learning to witness emotions without judgment, we begin to access a joy that is unshakable because it is not dependent on conditions. This joy is intimately tied to acceptance. To experience it fully, we must allow life to move through us without resistance. We notice its presence not by clinging to pleasure or avoiding pain, but by meeting all experiences with openness and curiosity. It is paradoxical, but the more we stop trying to manufacture happiness, the more it naturally arises. The effort to control or prolong it often destroys the very quality we seek. Joy is not a performance, nor is it a reward for endurance. It is the gentle recognition that life is complete as it is, and that even within struggle, there is a current of peace that carries us forward. In this journey, We begin to distinguish between the fleeting highs we have been taught to pursue and the enduring joy that exists beneath them. We see that happiness is often a reflection of circumstance, but joy is a reflection of awareness. We notice the subtle shifts that occur when we stop judging ourselves for feeling what we feel, when we stop asking how to stay happy all the time, and instead allow the full spectrum of experience to flow freely. It is in this recognition and this surrender to the truth of what is that joy becomes a constant companion, not because we force it, but because we no longer resist it. Sorrow is often feared as though it were the enemy of joy, yet it is one of life's most profound teachers. We are conditioned to avoid pain, to label it as failure, to believe that if we feel deeply, we are doing something wrong. And yet, every moment of grief, every pang of disappointment, carries a gift, a doorway into greater empathy, understanding, and presence. Sorrow is not a punishment, it is a guide. When we allow it to move through us without resistance, it reveals the subtle truths that happiness alone cannot. In the quiet of sadness, we learn patience. In the depth of grief, we discover compassion for ourselves and for others. Every difficult emotion is a reflection, showing us where we have been holding on too tightly, where expectations have replaced acceptance, where the illusion of control has kept us from wholeness. By resisting sorrow, we resist the very current of life that flows through us, cutting ourselves off from the richness of our own experience. But when we meet it with presence rather than judgment, we uncover a hidden depth that eludes the pursuit of happiness alone. Pain and discomfort are not signs of spiritual maturity. They are invitations. They ask us to look deeper, to feel fully, and to recognize the interconnectedness of all experience. Joy emerges not in the absence of difficulty, but alongside it, enriched and strengthened by the contrast. In sorrow, we are reminded of our humanity, of the fragility and impermanence of all things, and of the tenderness that arises when we acknowledge life exactly as it is. It is here, in these spaces that most fear to dwell, that the seeds of authentic peace are planted. The lessons of sorrow are subtle and often overlooked. A moment of disappointment can teach humility. A period of grief can teach endurance and empathy. The ache of loss can teach reverence for what is fleeting and precious. Sorrow, when embraced, becomes a bridge to greater self-awareness, to compassion, and to a joy that is not superficial or contingent, but deep-rooted and unshakable. In allowing ourselves to feel the full spectrum of life, we stop measuring worth by the absence of pain and begin to see the sacredness inherent in all experience. In this video, we learn that joy and sorrow are not opposites, but companions. The pursuit of happiness alone often blinds us to this truth, convincing us that peace can only exist in pleasure. But sorrow shows us the hidden continuity beneath life's fluctuations. It teaches that true joy does not deny sadness. It integrates it. It allows us to hold the full rhythm of life without resistance, to see that what we once feared as disruption is actually a pathway to wholeness. The wisdom of sorrow reminds us that the deepest, most enduring joy is not a constant high, but the presence that remains when we accept life fully, without avoidance or judgment. The journey through happiness and sorrow brings us to a quiet understanding. True peace is not the absence of difficulty, nor the constant presence of fleeting happiness. It is the embrace of all that arises within us, the welcome of every feeling as a teacher rather than a threat. When we stop trying to force joy, when we release the expectation of always being happy, a profound wholeness begins to emerge. It is subtle, often unnoticed at first, but it transforms the way we inhabit our lives. We begin to move through each moment with clarity, with compassion, and with a presence that does not depend on circumstance. Emotional wholeness does not mean indulgence in suffering, nor does it demand perfection and positivity. It means allowing ourselves to feel fully, without judgment. and recognizing that every experience, even the painful ones, contributes to the depth of our being. In doing so, we cultivate resilience. We see that anger, grief, or doubt are not enemies to be avoided, but parts of the same flow that gives rise to love, joy, and peace. Life ceases to be a contest of moods and becomes instead a continuous unfolding, a field in which all emotions are sacred participants. This is the point where the chase for happiness ceases to matter. We no longer ask how to stay happy all the time. Instead, we notice the quiet joy that arises when we allow life to be exactly as it is. It is the joy of presence, of acceptance, of alignment with the truth that has always been beneath the surface. When we stop measuring ourselves against an impossible ideal, we finally meet the calm that resides in every breath, in every heartbeat, in every moment of sincere attention to what is. As you sit with these reflections, consider gently inviting yourself to explore more. Each video on this channel is an opportunity to continue the journey, to see more clearly, to feel more deeply, and to uncover the quiet joy that is always available, even amid difficulty. Let these reflections guide you, but do not feel pressured to master them. Instead, allow yourself to move at your own pace, noticing the subtle shifts that occur when you stop striving and start observing. And if a particular insight resonates, allow it to unfold in your own life. Share it, ponder it, or simply hold it quietly in your awareness. There is no right or wrong way to explore these truths, only your sincere willingness to encounter life fully. By embracing emotional wholeness and by honoring the full spectrum of experience, you give yourself the freedom to live authentically without the burden of proving constant happiness. Join us in this ongoing, gentle journey back to yourself. And remember, true spiritual fulfillment is not found in escaping life's challenges, but in fully inhabiting the reality of what is, moment by moment, with awareness, presence, and compassion.